Hi, I'm Doug here at Global West. What I have on the table here is a COF-781 kit, which happens to be for 1970 through 81 Camaros and Firebirds. Now what this is actually an extended travel kit for installing a coilover type system on the front of the car. We use your stock frame, and we're going to do a modification to the frame where we're going to install these mounts, and it converts it over to a standard coilover type shock, where you run a standard coilover type spring, not a conical wound spring. Now the reason why we want to do this is because when we go to a full coilover type setup, it opens the world up to us for an infinite number of spring rates, which is going to be necessary to dial your car in, especially if you're road racing or autocrossing. The other thing it does is it allows us to go to a much longer shock absorber. By going to a longer shock absorber, we're able to set our ride height and not have to worry about bottoming the shock out, like how much travel do we really have. So it's real important that we get as much shock travel as we can on the front of these cars when we're racing and have that spring rate available to us to dial that car in. We also have upper control arms that go with this package as well, because when we put this mount on, the arm has to change so it'll swing over the new mount. So all this is part of that package. Now we have to be assembling one in the back, and we're going to take a minute and show you exactly how we install a COF-781 on a stock frame and give you a good idea of what's necessary to get the job done. Let's go in the back and let's check it out. We're back at the shop, and we've got a frame sitting here. This is for 70 through 81 Camaro Firebird, and what we're going to show is how to step-by-step install our COF-781 kit. Now the frame, as you can see, is bare, all ready to go, and you could actually do this on your car with the frame installed. You don't have to have it off like this to install this kit. But this makes it pretty easy for you to see step by step on what we're going to do. So let's go ahead and get started on installing this 781 kit on this particular frame. Okay, one of the first things you're going to do installing this COF kit is grab a couple of the 1/2-inch bolts supplied in your kit. You're going to use a couple of the nuts, and you're going to locate the cut template that is going to be installed on the top of your frame. You'll see how the slots are. They'll drop right onto the frame. Simply tighten those down. And what you're going to do next, you're going to take a felt tip and you're going to go ahead and run a line on our cut template on the frame. This gives you an indication of where you're going to have to trim this off. Simply draw in a slight radius there on each end. And your next step is going to be removing your template, because you're going to need it for the other side. And then go ahead and cut that. Once you've got the lines cut, go ahead and cut the center section off. You're going to have to grind some of the welding on the other side of that bracket from off the frame. And then we go ahead and use a air tool to help break that off, and you can see how rough it kind of looks. But now we're going to go in there and we're going to flatten that out with a grinder. You must have the welds all removed, so it's a nice flat surface area for our plates to go in. The COF kit, as you can see, as we install it, it's riding a little high. It has to be flat. So in this particular case, there's welding in this particular area that we do not want to remove. We want to clearance our bracket so that the weld, the parent weld on that factory frame mount, is still intact, and that's what we're clearing. So we're going to take our bracket and we're going to modify it so that it sits flat on the top of the frame, so we don't have to modify the factory weld. Next thing we're going to do is we got to position our holes. They should be lined up, and now we're going to cut the relief in the top. Now the best way to do that is go ahead and mark it, and we're going to have to cut that area out because that's where the coilover actually comes down through the frame. You can see how that red line is there. We have to trim that area out, so that'll be the next step. Once we've got it trimmed, you can see how it looks there. We're going to do some deburring, of course, in that particular area, and you're going to lay your plate on there again, check fit, make sure everything's good, and we're moving on. Now you got a good idea what it's going to take to modify the frame in order to put our shock mount on here. So once you've got it to this place, go ahead and bolt this in. The next thing you're going to do is weld this to the frame. Okay, as you can see, our frame is welded up on both sides. Now the next step, what we're going to do is we got to put the upper control arm bump stop in. So here's how you're going to do this. We're going to take our control arms that come with this kit, and you're going to go ahead and mount them on the frame. You're going to take two 1/8 inch shims and you're going to install them on each bolt. After we get those 1/8 inch shims in, we're going to mark the frame where our new bump stop is going to go, okay? So, you're going to take a marker, move the arm all the way down like this, and you're going to draw a line with the marker right underneath this pad right here, okay? So it's going to look like that. Next, this is in your kit, you're going to get, this is the bump stop mount for the frame. You're going to get two of these, one for each side, and these are your new bump stops. So what we're going to do is we're going to measure from this line down 3/4 of an inch. Okay, so once we get that in position, all you have to do is set this on here like so, which is your bump stop. The top of this plate is where that's going to go, just like that. Okay, so you set this up, you're going to line this up to where it hits that pad properly, right here. And we're going to mark the frame. On that 3/4 line, you see? That's where your bump stop plate's going to get welded. It's going to go right here on that angle. Okay? So the next step is to go ahead and weld this on. So now you know how to install the bump stop plate for the upper control arm. Now that we're done with this frame on this side, we'll do the other side and take it to powder. Okay, now you got a good idea how we install that COF-781 kit. The frame is off to powder. A couple days we'll get it back. Check out our next video when we install that frame underneath the car.